Most people who think they're working on themselves are actually being controlled. Controlled by trends, controlled by social media, controlled by productivity hacks, controlled by experts who don't know them, controlled by comparison, pressure, and the fear of falling behind. This is the new trap of self-improvement. The trap Jim Rohn tried to warn us about long before the world was flooded with gurus and shortcuts. Because if you're not careful, self-improvement becomes self-manipulation. You don't grow, you obey. You don't improve, you conform. You don't evolve, you get lost. And the worst part? You believe you're doing the right thing the entire time. That's what makes this trap so dangerous. Today's video will expose the truth. You are being controlled without realizing it. And it ends now. Most people who think they're working on themselves are actually being controlled. Controlled by trends, controlled by social media, controlled by productivity hacks, controlled by experts who don't know them, controlled by comparison, pressure, and the fear of falling behind. The illusion of self-improvement. Every time you watch a new motivational video, every time you buy another notebook, every time you save another quote, every time you try another morning routine, you feel like you're progressing. But in reality, you're being conditioned. Conditioned to consume, conditioned to follow trends, conditioned to compare yourself, conditioned to stay in progress forever, never arriving, never becoming, never executing. This is the new trap of the modern world. A trap Jim Rohn predicted decades ago, back when he warned that information without action is a prison. Today, we're going to break that prison. Because if you don't wake up, if you don't develop your own thinking, if you don't take control of your philosophy, someone else will shape it for you. And they already are. This video is your interruption, your moment of awareness, your wake-up call. Let's begin. The illusion of progress that controls millions. Here's the truth. Most people trapped in self-improvement aren't lazy. They're lost. They buy planners, journals, books, courses, not because they're committed, but because they're overwhelmed. Their minds are full, but their lives remain the same. Why? Because modern self-improvement has turned into entertainment. People treat motivation like a drug. You take a hit, you feel inspired, you swear your life will change, and then you go right back to the same habits. Jim Rohn said it perfectly. Motivation alone is not enough. If you motivate an idiot, you get a motivated idiot. He didn't mean that as an insult. He meant this. If you keep learning without applying, you simply become smarter about your excuses. You know more, but do less. And that's how control begins. When your mind feels full, you believe you're progressing, even when nothing in your life has changed. That illusion keeps you stuck, the invisible chains of modern self-help. Most people today are being controlled by 3 invisible chains of self-improvement. Let's expose each one. Overconsumption. One more video, one more book, one more tip. This is the trap of endless learning. You're always getting ready, preparing, planning, researching. You convince yourself you need more information before you take action. But listen carefully. Information without execution becomes manipulation. Not by others, but by your own mind. You chase motivation instead of results. You gather knowledge instead of building skills. And because the world keeps feeding you more content, you stay stuck in a loop. Learn, feel good, change nothing, repeat. That's not growth. That's control, imitation. I'll do it because everyone else is doing it. People don't set their own goals anymore. They copy the goals they see online. Somebody shares their 5 a.m. routine, and thousands imitate it. Somebody says you need a cold shower, and thousands obey. Somebody claims journaling is the secret, and everyone starts writing. But ask yourself, does any of this fit you? Jim Rohn warned, if you don't design your own life plan, someone else will design it for you. And guess what the world has planned for you? Distraction, comparison, confusion. Imitation is not improvement. It's surrender. Comparison. Am I good enough yet? Comparison is the most powerful chain of control. You don't compare yourself to who you were. You compare yourself to who others appear to be. You see someone your age making millions, someone else traveling the world, someone building a perfect morning routine, someone hitting goals faster than you. And suddenly, you feel behind, not good enough, not successful enough, not improving fast enough. So what do? You chase more self-improvement, not because you want to grow, but because you want to catch up. Comparison makes you a prisoner of your own mind. If you're breaking out of this trap today, type, "I choose clarity," in the comments. And if you want deeper wisdom like this every day, make sure you can subscribe because we don't teach trends here, we teach transformation. How the self-improvement world controls you. Let's go deeper. Why does this trap exist? Simple. Because a person stuck in self-improvement is easy to control. A person who doubts themselves buys more products. A person who feels behind consumes more content. A person who feels lost follows anyone with confidence. The industry learned something powerful. If people always feel like they need to improve, they'll never stop consuming. That's why the whole system is built to keep you almost inspired, but not enough to act, almost ready, but not ready enough to begin, almost confident, but still dependent. Jim Rohn used to say, formal education can make you a living, self-education can make you a fortune. But today's world flipped that. Now, self-education too often makes people confused, overwhelmed, and broke, because it's not really self-education, it's self-distraction. And the longer you stay distracted, the longer you remain controlled. When improvement becomes identity, this is the deepest part of the trap. At a certain point, you don't just consume self-improvement. You become addicted to the feeling of becoming better. You fill your shelves with books. You fill your head with lessons. You fill your journals with ideas. And slowly you begin to believe, I'm improving because I'm thinking about improving. But thinking is not doing. Learning is not growing. Hoping is not becoming. This is why millions stay stuck. They have the identity of a student, but not the identity of a builder. They admire change, but don't create change. And the more they work on themselves, the more powerless they feel. This is the ultimate trap. The more inspired you become, the less you act. Because your brain rewards you emotionally for progress you never actually made. Jim Rohn said, the major key to your better future is you. Not the next book, not the next video, not the next guru, not the next productivity hack. You, your principles, your reasoning, your standards, your beliefs, your understanding of life. Because once you build a philosophy of your own, the world can no longer control you. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop copying routines. You stop comparing yourself. You stop drowning in information. Your philosophy becomes your compass. It guides your choices. It shapes your habits. It directs your actions. It decides your future. And once you take control of your philosophy, the trap collapses. Why most people don't have a personal philosophy. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people borrow their philosophy from the world. They don't think. They repeat. They don't question. They adopt. They don't reflect. They absorb. Your beliefs come from your parents, your environment, your culture, your friends, your school, your job, your social media feed, but not from you. No wonder people feel lost. They're living a life built on borrowed thinking. Jim Rohn said, stand guard at the door of your mind. But most people leave that door wide open, letting any idea, any trend, any opinion walk right in and rearrange the furniture. If you don't build a philosophy consciously, you inherit one unconsciously, and inherited philosophies rarely build extraordinary lives. The mindset shift that breaks the chains. To break free, you must make one powerful shift. Stop asking, what should I do? Start asking, what do I believe? Because your actions come from your beliefs. Your habits come from your values. Your results come from your philosophy. This is why people consume endless self-help, but change nothing. They're trying to change behavior while keeping the same beliefs. It doesn't work. You can force habits, but philosophy shapes identity, and identity is destiny. Once you reshape your philosophy, action becomes natural. effort becomes aligned. Behavior becomes consistent. Growth becomes automatic. Because everything flows from who you believe yourself to be. How to build your own philosophy, Jim Rohn style. Now let's get practical. Jim Rohn taught that your philosophy is built from 3 sources. What you learn. Not everything you learn, but what you decide matters. Choose ideas that are timeless, not trendy. Choose principles, not hacks. Choose wisdom, not noise. What you observe. Life is a classroom. Watch successful people. Watch disciplined people. Watch consistent people. Watch grateful people. Watch courageous people. And also watch the people who fail. Watch the procrastinators, the complainers, the always busy but never productive, the dreamers who never act. Observe both sides, because both teach you something. What you decide. This is the most important part. Your philosophy is not built by copying someone else. It's built by choosing. What do I believe about success? What do I believe about effort? What do I believe about money? What do I believe about discipline? What do I believe about growth? Those decisions shape your life. Jim Rohn said, make sure what you become is the result of your own conclusions. Not someone else's conclusions. Not the internet's conclusions. Not a trend's conclusions. Yours. When your philosophy becomes your own, you become unstoppable. If this message is hitting you hard, make sure to dial subscribe, because we're building a community of people who think for themselves and grow with intention, shifting from consuming to creating. Once your philosophy becomes clear, you must make a second shift. Stop consuming improvement. Start creating improvement. People drown in information because they take in more than they produce. Think about it. You consume videos, but do you create plans? You consume advice, but do you create action? You consume inspiration, but do you create results? Jim Rohn taught, learning is the beginning of wealth, but learning without action is poverty. Action is the separator. The person who learns but never applies remains stuck. The person who learns and immediately applies becomes wise. This is how real transformation happens. Learn, reflect, apply, improve, repeat. Not learn, 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 get overwhelmed, quit. Why action is hard for most people. People don't avoid action because they're lazy. They avoid action because they're afraid. Afraid to fail. Afraid to look foolish. Afraid to disappoint themselves. Afraid to break old patterns. Afraid to step into the unknown. Self-improvement content gives them temporary relief from that fear. Because as long as they're working on themselves, they don't have to actually face reality. But here's the truth. The life you want is always on the other side of discomfort. Not motivation. Not inspiration. Not information. Discomfort. Jim Rohn said, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Better means braver. Better means disciplined. Better means action-oriented. And you can't reach that version of yourself while hiding inside self-improvement content. The discipline that breaks the cycle. To break the cycle of consumption, you must build a simple discipline. For every idea you learn, you must apply something within 24 hours. Read about discipline? Do something hard today. Read about goals. Write one down today. Read about consistency. Show up today. Learn something. Act on it today. Not tomorrow. Not soon. Not when I'm ready. Today. Because action builds confidence, and confidence destroys the trap. The more you act, the more you believe in your ability to change. And the more you believe in your ability to change, the less you depend on external motivation. Action frees you, creating personal standards that transform your life. Goals are temporary. Results come and go. Motivation rises and falls. But standards are permanent. Standards are the rules you live by, the boundaries you set, the identity you refuse to compromise. Jim Rohn said, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Standards turn those disciplines into identity. For example, a goal is, I want to get fit. A standard is, I don't skip workouts. A goal is, I want to grow financially. A standard is, I don't spend impulsively. A goal is, I want to be more disciplined. A standard is, I keep my promises to myself. See the difference? Goals require motivation. Standards require identity. When you set standards, you no longer rely on feeling inspired. You rely on who you are becoming. Standards are powerful because they do something the self-improvement trap never will. They make your behavior predictable. You don't make decisions based on mood. You make decisions based on standards. And that's how momentum begins, escaping comparison forever. Comparison is the root of modern misery. It's the reason people doubt themselves. It's the reason they chase trends. It's the reason they drown in self-improvement content. It's the reason they feel behind. Comparison destroys clarity and replaces it with pressure. But here's the truth Jim Rohn taught. The only person you should compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. Comparison to others is poison. Comparison to yourself is progress. So how do you escape comparison permanently? Define your own success. Success is not a car, a number, or a lifestyle. Success is alignment, you becoming the person you said you would be. Track your own progress, not others. Most people don't know if they're improving because they don't measure anything. Measure your habits. Measure your discipline. Measure your consistency. Measure your decisions. Limit exposure to noise. Your mind cannot stay clear in a storm of comparison. Set boundaries. Less scrolling. Less comparing. More creating. More executing. Strengthen your philosophy. When you know why you're doing what you're doing, other people's lives stop distracting you. That's freedom. The freedom Jim Rohn spent decades teaching. Turning consistency into momentum. Consistency is misunderstood. Most people think consistency means doing the same thing every day. But true consistency is this: never abandoning your path. Even when the pace changes. Some days you move fast. Some days you move slow. Some days you take a leap. Some days you take one tiny step. But you keep moving. That's consistency. Jim Rohn said, "Our days are expensive. When you spend a day, you have one less day to spend." And every day you act, even a little, you build momentum. Momentum is powerful because it multiplies effort. A person with zero momentum struggles to start. A person with momentum struggles to stop. Momentum makes discipline easier. Momentum makes progress automatic. Momentum makes growth natural. That's why the self-improvement trap tries to keep you stopping and starting. One day motivated, next day overwhelmed. 1 week consistent, next week confused. 1 month learning, next month burned out. The trap kills momentum. Breaking the trap rebuilds it. When you start executing instead of consuming, you build the engine that drives every success you want. If you're breaking the comparison trap today, type, "and I choose my path" here in the comments, and make sure you coca, saprapa, becoming the architect of your future. This is where everything comes together. Your philosophy, your standards, your clarity, your momentum. You stop letting the world shape you. You stop letting trends direct you. You stop letting comparison weaken you. You stop letting fear freeze you. You start thinking. You start acting. You start becoming. Jim Rohn didn't teach people how to follow. He taught people how to lead. Lead their life. Lead their habits. Lead their thinking. Lead their destiny. The moment you decide to lead your own life, your future stops being accidental. It becomes intentional. That's the shift we've built through this entire script. From controlled to conscious, from overwhelmed to clear, from passive to active, from imitator to creator, you become the architect. Your life becomes the project. Your philosophy becomes the blueprint. Your habits become the construction. Your results become the structure. This is real self-improvement, not the trap, the transformation. Closing message. Remember this. You were never supposed to live a life controlled by comparison. You were never supposed to chase endless information. You were never supposed to follow trends blindly. You were never supposed to stay in preparation forever. You were meant to design your life, to choose your philosophy, to direct your path, to build your destiny. This is what Jim Rohn dedicated his life to teaching. And don't let the world create your life for you. Create it yourself. This is the escape from the trap. This is the beginning of your transformation. This is the moment you take your power back.